I shall call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We shall have roll call, please, Carolina.
Councilmember Morales?
Yes.
Solly? Miller?
Yes.
Pulitzer?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Well, greetings, everyone. Thank you for coming, and Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year to you too.
Just thought, once again, this start out the year, we'll, I guess, kick it off with Mayor Woller's quote for the day. This particular quote comes from Vern McClellan, an author, and I find out that he's a musician, violinist, and whatever. The quote goes like this: "What the new year brings to you will depend a great deal on what you bring to the new year." Okay, we shall move on to approval of tonight's agenda. I'll entertain any motions. I'll entertain a motion, of course, but before that, if there's any additions or corrections by any members of the council, now would be a good time for that.
I'd like to move that we put citizens' comments back to the beginning of the agenda, where it was above the public hearings, I believe, instead of at the end.
And your reasons for that, by
My reasons are, I think it's more consistent with hearing people in the public and not having them wait through the whole meeting. One of the reasons for putting it back there was that people could attend. We haven't had any other people attend that aren't usually here. And I just think in the beginning, then we can hear and move on instead of waiting until the very end. Those would be my reasons.
Okay, we have a motion. Would there be a second to that motion?
I will second that.
You will second that?
I will.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Well, I guess I can, I'd like to speak to that. If you'll recall, part of the reason why, and I was, of course, the one that recommended we move it, there was a period that we went through, and I just wanted to speak to the time thing with allowing other people the opportunity to come to our meetings. That was part of it, but that is not the only reason. My main motivation was, and I still feel this way, that what was happening is when the citizens' comments came up, when it was at the beginning of our meeting, it was most often right before the council was going to be taking action on a particular ordinance or resolution, right? And much of the information that was put out just prior to that was rather lengthy, and in some cases there were statistics and a lot of information, I call it information dump, that was thrown at the city council. Okay, now, and I said this before and I'll say it again, by putting the citizens' comments towards the end of the meeting, I'm actually putting your concerns first. And I maybe didn't communicate that clearly enough, but I know I've said it at least twice. And what I had mentioned and what I suggested and recommended to members of the community at large is, in order for this to work, in order for us as city council members to really and truly give your comments and concerns its due justice, give us some time to digest it. When you walk in here minutes before we're expected to make a decision on it, it's just very difficult for us, and maybe you're different, I don't know, but to process all of that information and really make a good evaluation of what that concern is. Now, as you know, we never really speak to citizens' comments during the meeting anyway. And statutorily, I'd like to make a couple of comments before I pass it along to the rest of us. Statutorily, we are not obligated to even have a citizens' comments portion of our meeting. I think everybody in here knows that. I've spoken with several mayors at some of my mayor meetups, and I can speak for Mayor Bob Burns. He's the mayor of Marshall. They do not have a citizen's comments. And during this meetup, I asked Mayor, I said, well, how does that work? And he said, well, we've never had one, and really it's worked quite well for their community. People email them their concerns, and that's kind of the way they communicate. So I guess I strongly feel that I'd like to keep it where it is. It's not that I don't value the citizens' comments, but it's actually quite the opposite of that. It's because I care about what your concerns are that I put it to the end. So you can communicate with us right up until Tuesday afternoon what your concerns are. And Jim, you were probably one of the only ones that's done that, and I thank you for that, because you raised some concerns in the email that you sent to Blaine and I. And had you just came in here and dumped that on us, I wouldn't have been able to really digest any of that. So I had time this afternoon I spent reading through your concerns, and it was much appreciated. It was a lot easier for me to process. So we have a motion and a second. Blaine, would you care to speak to that at all?
My philosophy's always been to have it up front, because I think, and I've said this before, that citizens are on the top of the organizational chart. But at the same time, it's citizens' comments. So the intention of citizens' comments has always been, somebody's got something that they want to say to the council, come to the council meeting, say it to them. But I don't know that that's how it's being used in the current form. It's not an opportunity to weigh in on the topics that are on the agenda. Nobody read the agendas before. But we have some concerned citizens that are reading the agendas. And I have talked to a couple of them about agenda items for today. So it's got your comments should be short, to the point, and then we move on, and the city council has to be able to do their business. That's really what this meeting is here for, is for them to do their business.
Members of the council, any further discussion?
If there's things in citizens' comments that we need to take into consideration, there's no reason we can't table some item that we're working on to take 2 more weeks to sit on it. But I'm willing to bet that the majority of the time, the comments that are gonna come forward are not gonna affect on what we're looking at with the agenda for this evening or a particular evening. So I stand by my moving it up to give the citizens the chance to comment at the beginning of the meeting, and if it's something that we need to take into consideration before we make decisions, we can always table that decision and delay it for 2 weeks until our next meeting, or 3 weeks, whatever, depending on when it falls into our monthly meetings.
So you feel comfortable that a lot of the information that's presented to you during the citizens' comments portion, that you can process it and give it its due diligence? That's what you're saying, right?
I just got done saying if we
Okay.
need to take more time, we can delay making a decision until the following meeting, if you were listening to what I just said.
I was
Okay.
listening to you.
Okay, so I'm not saying, no, we need to take and grind in everything that's presented at a citizen's comment and make the decision immediately. I'm saying if it's something that's major that we need to reconsider or look further into, that there's no reason that we can't wait and make our decision at the following meeting, is what I'm saying.
Yep, I hear you. I hear you. I
Okay.
understand. Yep. Points made.
Well, and just so you know, I already addressed all of Jim's questions. So one of the things that I can do is I can answer your questions before you come to a council meeting and don't have the time to ask all your questions during citizens' comments. And in some cases, it's maybe something that needs to be addressed by the city council, but in most cases, it's understanding what it is that we do. So that's one of the things I have done today.
Well, and someday, maybe someone else will be sitting in this seat. But I will say this, as a mayor, it is difficult to manage when right before a meeting comes in. Now, it's been fairly manageable as of late, we only have 1 or 2 people, but if you get an onslaught of people that come up and want to address the council, it does get to be a little bit difficult, but that's probably on me, and I'll have to deal with that, but any further discussion? We have a lot on our plate tonight, so we have a motion and a second. I guess we'll just, I'll ask for a roll call vote on that motion if there's no other discussion.
Okay, Councilmember Sullivan, Correll,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
No. Okay, official acts. Well, I guess, is that effective tonight then? We
Yeah, I
move
think
citizens'
for this
comments.
meeting.
Requested to move.
Is that what you
it.
want?
Change to
Yeah,
the agenda, so now
Change
you,
on the agenda,
Okay.
yes.
So we'll move that right after the approval of our agenda then, right? That'll be the first action item before everything else, right? So we're gonna move citizens' comments, which is item 13. Well, I move item 13 then to item 5, I guess, if you will. And then everything else will just get moved down. Okay, so citizens' comments. All right, that being said, we have 2 individuals that would like to approach the council. And first up would be Annette Watson.
Thank you, Annette Watson, Morris, Minnesota. I came to talk about what you guys just talked about, and that is moving the citizens' comments forward. I know you did it for this agenda, and I thank you so much for that. And then when you get to your standing rules, you know, I implore you to also move the citizens' comments up, just to show that our voice really does matter in this town. I do believe, from my perspective, when you shove it to the end, which is non-standard, I've never seen it done that way before, that it does seem that you are pushing us to the back of the process of a democratic republic. All right, thank you.
You didn't call on me, so I didn't know if I was.
Mary Elizabeth, you are up next.
All right. I have lived in this town for half my life, and I've lived in Minnesota for most of the other half. And the thing that I have come to count on most is that it snows. And it snows every winter in Minnesota. I have no idea why it's raining this year, but it still snows. And for all of that time that I've lived in Morris, the rule has been that you must shovel your sidewalk within 2 days of a snowfall. The enforcement of that is vague at best. And in my earlier years, when I wasn't this annoyed or this old, I used to carry a shovel around and shovel other people's sidewalks. Then I realized that that was not helpful because they thought the good fairy was coming to shovel. So I would urge 2 things. One, that the city manager, I know Blaine has too much to do right now, but maybe we could keep track of the people we have to send letters to each in a year to remind them to shovel their sidewalk. And the other thing is we have to figure out a more efficient way to get people to shovel. Someone is going to be harmed, and it is in the city ordinance. Plus, people should shovel out to the street if they live on a corner. Thank you. Oh,
Thank
I've
you.
said this every winter, so see whoever's in here next winter. Bye.
Thank you. All right, we had 2 individuals that requested to be on the citizens' comments. Before we move on, is there anybody else that would like to address the city council? Hearing none, we shall move on to our official acts. Our first item of action is election of mayor pro tem. And I think you have the list of our current positions that we're overseeing at this point. Mayor pro tem right now is Councilmember Miller.
No.
it's
No,
Zach,
that's
the
me.
guy
It
sitting
is
next
you,
to
you're right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I would like to move that we keep Zach as the mayor pro tem.
I will second that. And a fine wingman you are. We have a motion and a second to elect Councilmember Krails as Mayor Pro Tem. I'll just ask for a voice vote on that, please. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Appointments of ex officios and appointments to boards and commissions. And I think we all have the list right there in front of us. I guess I could speak first. I would certainly entertain keeping mine the same. I don't know what everybody else feels, but Brian doesn't get a voice because he's not
I
here.
was just gonna say, whoever doesn't wanna be on something, just give it to Brian.
Give it to Brian, yeah.
That's what happens when you miss a meeting.
Of course, now that you said that, I can't give something to him because everybody will know that.
Same.
Well,
Okay.
the different meetings happen at different times
Correct.
of the day, which we've normally tried to work it into different council members' schedules that can make the morning meetings, the evening meetings, or things of that type. I've had a tough time making some of my tourism board meetings, but hopefully I can improve on that from what it's been. But I think we are on the boards we're on because it works with our schedules to be able to attend. So I would move that we leave the members on the boards that they are currently on.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the appointment of ex officios and appointments to boards and commissions. And the motion is that they will remain the same. And I'll just ask for a voice vote on that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right.
We
Last
need
item.
to handle these appointments too, since that was just maintaining our, since that is that line item.
Let's see, please make the following appointments to the various boards and commissions. Airport, do we need to read, I suppose we should probably read them all off.
To
huh?
recognize them, I would.
Yeah, I'll recognize all of the different boards and commissions, here we go. Airport Board, Advisory Board is a 2-year term, Jim Nealand, Keith Davison. The Library Board, 3-year term, Nicole Schmidt and Leanne Dean. Planning Commission, 4-year term, Dennis Wolf and Daryl Malfair. Park Board is a 2-year term, and that's Brad Dolan and Haley Karras.
Karis.
And a Tree Board opening is 2-year term also, and that's Emily Moore. And on the Tourism Board, we have Ryan Schleter and Jordan Staples, and that's a 3-year term. So those are them all newly appointed then?
No,
Or some are new and some are
correct.
just renewing or, okay. Do I have a motion to entertain those?
I will move on the appointment to the boards and commissions as listed for 2026.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the appointments as listed, or as, I guess, listed there for the boards and various commissions.
I would just like to thank all these people for stepping forward and their time. It's not a lot of time, but it's still taking time out of a busy schedule to come and help make decisions that affect the city, and it's community involvement, and it does take time. I mean, we've had some people that have served and have stepped back after a meeting or two and just said, I don't have time. So for these ones that have been on boards or that are new to the boards, thank you.
Yeah, they're an integral part of our process here, if you will, and that's what keeps our community engaged. So yes, thank you. So we vote? Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Motion and a second.
Motion and a second. So I'll just ask for a voice vote on those appointments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to item C, designation of our official newspaper. And it looks like that's the Stevens County Times. Any discussion on that?
I will move to make the Stevens County Times designate them as our official newspaper.
I will second.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think, are very happy with Stevens County Times and the work that they do for us. So we have a motion and a second to approve, or to designate Stevens County Times as our official newspaper. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have no public hearings tonight, so we shall move on to reading and approval of our meeting minutes from December 23rd, 2025, and that would be our regular meeting minutes.
I will move approval of the regular minutes from our December 23 of 2025 meeting with the correction down on the citizens' comments where it's James Stoker approached the council regarding the comprehensive plan, and then Stork explained his concerns to the council. I believe that should be Stoker and not Stork. I don't recall a Stork being at our meeting.
Yep, who's the gentleman there?
But it's spelled wrong.
He's
in the-
requesting, yeah.
He just wants to change from
Good catch.
Stork to Storker.
I will second with that amendment.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve our December 23rd, 2025 regular meeting minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And now we have our condensed version of those same minutes from December 23rd, 2025.
I will move approval of the condensed version of the minutes for December 23rd, 2025.
I will second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the December 23rd, 2025 condensed version of our minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, next before us is our consent agenda, which tonight consists of our audit of city bills, our gambling reports, the transit report, and pay estimate number 4 for Project 1 construction. And I will move approval of the items on the consent agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the items on the consent agenda, and I will now at this time bring it back to the city council for any discussion on any of those items. Probably one of the larger dollar amounts on our or the monthly bills. I don't know if I've ever seen it quite that high, but hey, stuff comes due, I suppose. Maybe it's just a timing thing.
Bond payments.
A lot of our bond payments, right? Gotta love debt service, right?
Right.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion by members of the council on any of those items?
said donation, is that in here is another place?
No,
A
that's,
donation of the library?
that's petitions request, that's the
Sorry,
next segment.
thank you, there it is. Okay.
Any other further discussion from anybody? Jeff, you good?
I think so. The only thing I would question would be the Heartland Motors, the City Volt battery repair for $4,182. Is that old girl getting that high in mileage, or we're getting wore out, or
It's getting old, yeah. It's
are
probably
we
time-
using it? Is it getting
Probably
used?
time, I think it's used a little bit. Not as much as, it's probably time to look at, trading it in on, it'd be better if we had like a Chrysler van that would be easier for people to use. It is a very small car.
Just at one time that the employees of the city that went on different things didn't want to use it. They were using personal vehicle and using reimbursement.
I think
Just
it's being
curious
used by
if it's,
some of the
If
We
employees.
have a
it's-
policy that states you have to use a city vehicle. If it's not available, then you can use yours.
Okay.
Otherwise, you don't get mileage reimbursement. And
okay.
it's so expensive because it's a electric vehicle.
Yeah,
so it's
I
not
fully
cheap.
understand, have owned several, and in the right application, it's awesome, but like I say, I think the last time we discussed it, we had like about 4,000 miles on it, and just curiosity, questioning the use and sitting there if it's not on a regular, that'd be the only one I had, otherwise everything I'm okay with. Thank you.
I don't know, maybe it could lead into a discussion on maybe buying something that would work a little better for us, depending on our needs. Like you said, when a larger group wants to go, maybe some kind of a
Yeah, we can
van.
look at it during the next budget discussion.
Right. All right, sounds good. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. I guess we'll just ask for a voice vote on that, please. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We shall move on to petitions, requests, and communications. First up is our library donation.
Yeah, Ann contacted me about this, and she's wondering where this money goes. And it was written out to the city of Morris, so it has to go into the city of Morris funds. And this is the library fund donation, so that's where this money will go into the library fund.
And that's a shout out to, thank you for Nancy McDunn. She was the person that
That's a
donated
very nice donation.
$1,000.
And there's no stipulations on it, so they can use it for what they think is best for the library.
That was just what I was gonna question, or pretty much to use it at their discretion for
It's
something for
kind
the
of the same
library.
thing with, like the fire
Fire
department, when they
department or-
get donations and things like that.
Yes, much appreciated.
I will move approval, accepting that library donation in the amount of $1,000.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to accept that donation from Nancy McDunn in the amount of $1,000. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Tourism Board recommendations. Blaine, I'll maybe have you speak to that one.
Yeah, so the tourism board, they're responsible for overseeing the lodging tax that's taken from the hotels in town, and that money is to be used for marketing Morris as a tourist destination. Some people might not realize that it's a tourist destination, but it actually is in a number of different areas. And over the course of time, since this has started, there's been a lot of discussion about what is the best way to go about marketing. And eventually what happened was they decided to find a marketing company that knows how to market and to start working with them. And so we did find this company called Click Content Studios out of Fargo, North Dakota. Actually, their representative is a Manning. So anybody that grew up in Morris probably knows Manny's. And he comes back to Morris every now and then to visit. But they put together, if you go to the third to last page, they put together a marketing strategy for the city of Morris to market. And this is the proposed budget for their marketing strategy. It's very expensive. It's $80,000. But it's broken down to a number of different things that they're going to look at doing, including media content and creation. And most of you know that they've already done a lot of that. So they've come and taken video of a lot of events, the fair, Prairie Pioneer Days parade, back when it was Prairie Pioneer Days. And a lot of the video of the hotels, so they can have that information to be able to market the community. So this goes beyond that and starts looking at, one of the things that they're talking about is reaching out to tour bus companies to put together tours in this area. We know that ag tourism is very big here. Out at the research station, a lot of people, our friends from Germany, are going to be coming in March. And one of the things they're going to be doing is stopping in Morris to look at what's going on out at the university system. And then putting together all kinds of other things, maps, signage, website information. And then they do a lot of research to find out. They've been doing some survey work to find out where people are going, what they're looking for, what kind of activities are they trying to do. And then ultimately try to put together some packages that'll bring people here so that they stay at the hotels. So the tourism board met, they looked at it, and they're recommending that the city council go ahead and authorize this strategy to be done. But the second recommendation they have is that it's gonna take somebody locally that can coordinate with them to do this stuff. Well, lo and behold, the city's already looked at that. And so then there's been discussion about, you know, how that could be done. And a part-time position was created through, and when the pay study was done, that position was put onto the pay scale and everything. There's a job description that's been made. So along with this is a recommendation to go ahead, and it's in the 2026 budget, which will come out of the lodging tax to pay for that part-time position. I think it's about $23,000 is what it looks like right now. So that's what they're recommending. You authorize this strategy, and then you authorize the city to go ahead and hire a part-time tourism coordinator.
But to highlight what Blaine just said, that this money is coming out of our tourism fund,
Right.
which is collected from our lodging tax, and there's about $300,000 in that fund right now. So it's money being spent to do tourism and tours in our community for the betterment of our community, for people to come and see what we have in our community, so.
Well, and you know, just one point on that is tourists are not people that live here. You know, and there always was a discussion, you know, what's the difference between the Chamber of Commerce and their people that they're looking at trying to get into stores and stuff like that. And then what is a tourist and trying to get them to come here. Obviously, once they get here, they're gonna be going into stores and stuff like that. But, so you have to be able to figure out where people are at and how to get information out to them to get them here. You know, and that's what we're paying these people to do. So I think they're pretty good at it, but we'll see, you know, and if something isn't gonna work out, then we won't spend that money. So it's all based upon them doing these things and then having outcomes over the next period of time, which is, I think it's like a year that they're gonna be doing this.
Or the other old tourism click was putting heads in beds.
Heads in
It's
beds.
for people coming in that aren't within a certain radius of our community, that are gonna come and spend a night or weekend in our community, spending and exploring what we have in our community, where more of the chamber is promoting the business on more of a local for everybody.
And, the Hudson Reef modeled that place, so there's a lot more people staying in that hotel.
I think that's the biggest thing is we have two people managing or owning the two big hotels who do a fantastic job of marketing their own hotels and stuff
Right.
we don't even hear or see about. The Hudson being one of them, there's stuff going on there all the time
All the
that is
time.
not,
Yes.
that is not really promoted through tourism. And the same with, Grand Stay. I mean, while they don't have a lot of activities, they are
Right.
huge. So
And one of the
do they have representation on the tourism board? Either one of those?
The Hudson.
Hudson does.
Grand Stay,
Set.
I think they got a little bit too busy, but,
Yeah.
but the Grand Stay does. And then actually at the December meeting, they talked about, you gotta come back and redo the video.
Yes.
Cause when they first did it, we kinda stayed away from the hotel because it was not in good shape. Well, now, now's the perfect time to start looking at what's the new video gonna look like. After they did the parking lot, it totally changed the dynamics of.
And
how
my
that place
biggest
looked.
that I would like to tell them too is you have to use real photos of Morris or you can't use
Yeah, you can't,
Yeah.
stock photos.
stock photos. I mean, you can tell right away, it's like, where the heck is that?
That
That's
is
not
not- yeah.
here. So, I mean, that would be key for me is to make sure they are not using stock photos. Cause we're paying a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so they need to provide real life
Actual photos.
Morris actual event things, not stock photos of some
Yep.
buddy river rafting
Yeah.
or something, because
Yep.
like, that is not happening here.
Yep.
And then it's very misleading if,
What's the process gonna be for the part-time coordinator position? How is that gonna shake out?
Actually, I talked to Maggie, cause Maggie's kind of the HR person now, so then what we'll do is advertise for that position, we have a job description, and then, we'll interview candidates and try to pick somebody, hire somebody to go in that. We do have room in City Hall for somebody to move into the back room, and so that, it'll probably start right after you guys decide to go ahead and do it.
I think that position has been talked about for a long time.
Long time.
And what a benefit it would be to have someone actually specifically working, like, I know, Rebecca had gone to the tourism conference and learned a lot of things from there, and
Right.
we just don't have the capacity.
Well, and initially,
realize
we
that.
had kind of a position like that, but
Well,
it was
it's
in
been a
the,
long, it's been,
it was in the chamber.
yeah,
And so then that didn't work out as well as, anybody thought it was gonna work out, but, so this will be somebody specific to this, and then that person will coordinate with the tourism board activities and all that kind of stuff, so that'll help a lot. I think you could do it probably in one motion to authorize, to approve the strategy, tourism strategy with Click Content Studio and authorize hiring
Yeah,
a
we could
tourism
just
coordinator.
put that in the form of a motion, I guess, yeah. I guess I can make a motion to approve the tourism board recommendation, marketing strategy with a budget of $80,000, and to start the process of hiring a part-time tourism coordinator.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. I think I'll ask for a roll call vote on that motion, please.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Goldser,
yes.
Correll,
Yes.
Solby, Mayor Walters.
Yes. Okay. Ordinances and resolutions. Our first resolution before us. We have a resolution adopting the City of Morris Transit updated drug and alcohol testing policy. I don't know, Blaine, did you want to speak to that at all? Or?
It's an annual thing that we wind up doing. The only thing, somebody mentioned that Rebecca's not here anymore.
That was gonna be my comment on
So
it, is
then,
that she's
we'll
listed
have
as
to
second.
Change that in the back. But, yeah, we're required, and this is pretty standard stuff. Whitney watches over this one. The city manager watches over the drug policy for the public works. Or does Maggie do that now?
Yeah, Maggie took that over just with, the absence of a full-time or long-term city manager.
Yeah. But it's federally mandated stuff that we have to be doing, so.
Are there any changes from, what are
There's
the
just
update?
a few minor, details as far as like the wording. It doesn't change any of the breadth of it. It's just like, it had to be, let's see, which part was it? It was very minor. It was just for federal regulation, but it, instead of like, for instance, like no illegal substances, instead of it being up to a legal amount of illegal substance, because for federal transit driving, you can't have even a medical marijuana or CBD that might be legal in Minnesota, but for federal transit and our DOT and stuff, they can't have any of that. So it was very minor, just wording changes.
Okay, thanks.
I will move approval of the resolution adopting the City of Morse Transit updating drug and alcohol testing policy as listed before us.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second approving the resolution adopting the City of Morris Transit updated drug and alcohol testing policy. And once again, Carolina, I'll ask for a roll call vote on that resolution, please.
Councilmember Gollison,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sullivan, Corral,
Yes.
Mayor Walsh.
Yes. All right, next resolution before us is a resolution authorizing finance director to designate depositories.
Yeah, this is the annual one that we do. So then Whitney watches over all of our funds to make sure that we have enough in our checkbook and all that kind of stuff, and then the excess money gets deposited, and she watches over that.
I will move on that resolution authorizing the finance director to designate depositories.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second approving the resolution authorizing finance director to designate depositories. Once again, we'll have roll call vote on that resolution, please.
Councilmember Corral,
Yes.
Sullivan, Miller,
Yes.
Gollison,
Yes.
Mayor Walsh.
Yes. All right, next resolution before us is a resolution adopting the 2026 Morris City Council Standing Rules. Blaine, you want to speak to that at all, or?
I see that the change that I suggested is already in here, because the city council is gonna be looking at a ordinance next meeting on, change to the charter, so the special meeting notice, I think in the previous one, it was 72 hours, if I remember right, and the ordinance is gonna change it from 12 to 24 hours before a meeting. But typically our special meetings, you're gonna know about them usually at the city council meeting ahead of it. And I guess I don't have any other issues unless somebody else saw something that they want to change.
The citizens' comments are 14. Are we going to be moving them back up to 5? So right after approval of the agenda before public hearings. What was this?
Well, in general, we follow Robert's rules, standing order, so I suppose that's a change internally, but yeah, can make note of that for sure.
Yeah, so we'll move that one up to 5, and
Yep.
then we'll renumber it.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion on that resolution?
I will move approval of the resolution adopting the 2026 Morris City Council standing rules with the change of the citizens' comments up to item 5 and moving the other items down one slot to make that correction.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second approving the resolution adopting the 2026 Morris City Council standing rules. And once again, Carolina, I'll ask for a roll call vote on that resolution, please.
Councilmember Salvi, Corrals,
Yes.
Gollison,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. All right, next resolution before us, we have a resolution adopting an amended 2026 budget. And I'll let Mayor act. Blaine, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah,
one.
so basically, when Whitney was going back through the budget, and she has to take the budget that we have and load it into the state budget system and submit it to the state of Minnesota. And as she does that, she does a very good job of watching over it and checking numbers and stuff like that. And she did find that there's in Excel one box that had, instead of a number or a sum, it had a text in there. And so she caught that, and that's all this is just changing the final amount for Fund 340, and it did change the overall budget amount, and that's all this is doing. Computers are good.
Which lowers it by 110 or 112,000 approximately.
Yeah, it wasn't.
General fund wasn't touched, but it was just one of our debt service funds that had a text, like a formula error in it.
I will move on that resolution adopting an amended 2026 city budget.
I will second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second approving the resolution adopting an amended 2026 city budget. And I'll ask for roll call vote on that resolution once again, Carolina.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Gollison,
Yes.
Corrals,
Yes.
Salvi, Mayor Wolf.
Yes. Okay, we're getting there. Next resolution before us, we have a resolution approving a refuse increase adjustment for the period of January 1st, 2026 through 7/31/2026 with Ingebrigtsen Sanitary Disposal Service. Blaine, you want to speak to that one too? Or?
Yeah, so, the county is overall responsible for the contract for where our garbage goes to. And then Ingebrigtsen's is the company that actually hauls it for us. And so depending on what the tipping fees are for the garbage that the county has, or other modifications, then they will come to us and ask for an increase. They've been very good, and the county's been very good at keeping it to somewhat of a minimum cost. So you can see the actual increases, $19.64 going up to $19.74. We do bill bi-monthly, and that's come up to me before, that most people don't understand that you get a 2-month bill. And it's just a fee increase.
So what happens after July 31st?
Then I
Another
think,
one?
are they negotiating the
Yeah,
contract
so
with the
that
county?
Yeah, so it's a 3 or 4 year contract, so it needs to be started with our negotiating sooner, like March, April, to figure that out before the end of July.
A 3-year or 4-year contract with updates though, right? I mean.
So in
obviously
the
this-
contract, there's set refuse, but there's a clause in there that if the disposal fee changes due to county changes, that can be updated outside of the set contract terms. So this is the instance why it had to change in the middle, like towards the end of the contract.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of complicated, because county has contracts to haul to Gwinner, to haul up to the incinerator up in Alexandria. Ingebrigtsen's has contracts with the county to bring the garbage to the transfer station that gets there, and then we have a contract with them. So depending on who's doing what with the contracts, it gets a little bit complicated, trying to figure out what it is, but they're all pretty good at trying to keep it down as low as they can.
I will move approval of a resolution for refuse increase adjustment for the period of January 1st, 2026 through July 31st, 2026 with Ingebrigtsen Sanitary Disposal Service Incorporated, increase of 10 cents from where we have been for the remainder of our agreement.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second approving the resolution of a refuse increase adjustment from the period of January 1st, 2026 through July 31st, 2026 with Ingebrigtsen Sanitary Disposal Service, Inc. And once again, Carolina, I'll ask for a roll call vote on that resolution, please.
Councilmember Gullison,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Selby, Correll,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. Next resolution before us is a resolution authorizing the submission of the 2026 pay equity report. And I'll throw it back over to Blaine here for that.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I did the last one. Because this, every 3 years, we're required to report to the state of Minnesota. And basically, the gist of pay equity is they want us to have a system in place that shows whether or not female dominated positions are underpaid at a higher level than male positions within the system that they created. So it's actually a computer system that they set up. And so what you do is you provide all your data to them, and then you run it, and actually I've run it, and we're in compliance with the state system. We will send all of our stuff in, and then they will look it over, and then they'll issue us a certificate that indicates that we're in compliance. There's no requirement whatsoever to pay people what is on these reports. And the interesting part about this, and I've been doing them since I remember when pay equity first came into play, because I did the first one of these reports for the city of Breckenridge. But the interesting part about this is that we've had the same pay system forever here in Morris until the new wage study was done. So now on this report, we'll be reporting the ABDO Solutions wage system, and that's how we came up with these numbers. And so as I was loading all this information into the state, the only thing that popped up that was an issue is the fact that when you made a deal with me to come back as the part-time city manager, I was not put on the pay scale. I have a separate pay agreement with the city, which is not a problem. So I reached out to the ABDO Solutions people and asked them how I should report that on the schedule, and that's the way I did report it. If you look at these reports, you're going to see basically the information that we put in. We have 21 jobs that we actually have 22, but I didn't report the tourism coordinator because that position hasn't been filled yet. So you have to base it on the wages at the end of 2025. And you can see on this report, you know, where the salaries fall into play as far as salary range, the number of people that are in each one of the jobs. And the system will take that information and calculate out based upon what the dollar amounts are, whether or not a position is underpaid, if it's overpaid, and then it'll do the comparison. You have to be above 80%. We're at 98% when that comparison is done. Yeah, it's complicated, but in the end, we're in compliance. And then the only other thing I suggested, if somebody looks at this and goes, well, there's some people that are underpaid a lot, and there's some people that might be overpaid a lot. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is that, and I actually talked to somebody today about it, when you get to the higher levels in government, they tend to be paid less than you might find in the private sector. If you look at some of the lower levels in government, they might be paid more than you might see in the private sector. And in our case, we have transit drivers who are paid with federal money, which mandates that we have to pay them at a pretty good rate. But it's all in here, and it's all compared, and in the end, when you look at it, we're in compliance. And so what we'll do is we'll send this in, if you authorize it, and then we'll find out probably in about a month whether or not they're gonna issue our certificate. If for some reason they didn't, they would tell you what you need to do to come into compliance. I think I had one time in my history where we actually had to adjust a position to bring us into compliance up in Breckenridge, but that's not the case here. Any questions? When the new city manager comes, the city manager will go on the pay scale. And then oddly enough, we had a new city manager that was a male, the old one was a female. We have a new sustainability coordinator that's female, the old one was a male. And so they kind of move back and forth.
I will move on that resolution authorizing the submission of the 2026 pay equity report.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. There's no further discussion. I'll ask for a roll call vote on that resolution authorizing the submission of the 2026 pay equity report.
Councilmember,
Go ahead, you're fine.
Councilmember Carlos,
Yes.
Selby, Miller,
Yes.
Gollison,
Yes.
Mayor Wong.
Yes. All right, next resolution before us, a resolution approving an HR attorney consulting service contract for 2026.
Yeah, this
Go ahead.
is the company Susan Hansen works for, and they sent their updated contract. I gave you the copy that had the lined out old rates and the new rates, so you could see them. And yeah, we don't pay anything unless we decide to use this person for something, and obviously we have, but this is their new rates.
Yeah, I guess I was pretty happy with the services we received this past summer from Susan and their company, so seems reasonable enough, I guess. It's not a huge increase. Any other discussion on that? I will move approval of that resolution approving an HR attorney consulting service contract for 2026.
I'll second.
Thank you. And once again, Carolina, I'll ask for a roll call vote on approving that HR attorney consulting services contract.
Councilmember Selby, Morales,
Yes.
Gollison,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Mayor Wong.
Yes. All right, couple more to go. Resolution approving state airport fund grant agreement number 106-2122 with the Minnesota Department of Transportation. Blaine, maybe you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so you probably remember this because it wasn't very long ago that we had a resolution authorizing us to apply for this grant, and we already got the grant documents back. So this is for the clear zone acquisition plan that the engineers are gonna do for the ends of the runway to come into compliance with the state rules and regulations on owning the airspace and the land at the ends of our runway. So that's probably the fastest turnaround of a grant agreement that I've seen. Because when I got it, it's like, we just did this. And it's like, oh no, this is a grant. This is not the application.
Yep.
To qualify for state funding, we need to comply with this. It's just for the ends of a runway that
Right.
don't belong
Yep.
to us, that are adjoining our runway properties,
Yeah, and
just for the safety reason to, so.
And we
yeah.
can't buy the land because, you know, there's a state road, there's a railroad. Yeah, so then they will do the paperwork to make sure that we're okay with that.
I will move on that resolution approving state airport fund grant agreement 1062122 with the Minnesota Department of Transportation.
I will second that.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second approving, on that resolution approving State Airport Fund Grant Agreement 1062122 with the Minnesota Department of Transportation. And a roll call vote, please, Carolina.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Correll,
Yes.
Solly, Mayor Wallace.
Yes. All right. Last but not least, we have a resolution approving a contract with UMVRDC for the preparation of a comprehensive plan update, and I'll let Blaine speak to
Yeah,
that.
so this was brought up at the last meeting and you tabled it. And a couple things you asked me to do. One was to check, there was a question about whether or not the Upper Minnesota Valley RDC could do this work for us because we're not in their area, and they can because they do have an agreement with the West Central Initiative Fund to be able to do this. So specifically, the West Central Initiative Fund has given them authorization to be able to do this. Number two, you asked me to check on some references. I did talk to the administrator from Madison. They're very happy with the end result of the work that they did on their comprehensive plan. Yellow Medicine County had worked on their plan. They're happy with it. The city of Kirkhoven had worked on their plan, and they were happy with it. So they could do it. It looks like the people they've been doing it for are happy with it, but it struck me as I was looking at all this stuff, it makes no sense to have this done without the new city manager here. You know, so if you look at what's in that plan for them to do all this work, it is intensive as far as the city manager and the staff goes. Because there's a lot of coordination that takes place with information. You know, they're talking about possibly updating the zoning map, the lots of things, and then meetings, all those kind of things. But at the same time, it just doesn't make sense to do it. I did reach out to Margaret Kuchenreiter at the Planning Commission, and I mentioned it to her. I didn't want it to be a surprise, and she agreed that that probably made sense to do that, hold off until the new person. I reached out to the Upper Minnesota Valley RDC person and said, hey, I'm just gonna throw this out. And she goes, you know, you're absolutely right. It would not make sense to do that. Because I'm not gonna be here when they start it, probably. And at the same time, the new person coming in is gonna be just getting dialed into everything else. So my recommendation is you I don't know what we do, table this for an extended period, or
Suspend definite, I think is.
yeah, suspend it.
Suspend definite, because that
Yeah.
just means we're just putting it off
Yeah,
for now, and we could specify a date at a later time.
yeah, so we can bring it back.
Discussion, comments?
Makes sense for us to just table it, push it back until we have a new city manager, I agree.
I fully concur. You want to put that in the form of a motion?
I will move that we just delay any implication of this comprehensive plan until we do have a new city manager. and basically suspend any such action until that time.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll have a roll call vote on that resolution of suspending that contract with UMVRDC until a later date.
Councilmember Barles,
Yes.
Solby, Miller,
Yes.
Culbertson,
Yes.
Mayor Walsh.
Yes. Okay. Page 2. City Manager's Newsletter.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to touch on anything in here. You can just kind of read it. I will just say this, you made board appointments. The board appointments, there's some issues with regards to the bylaws that were passed by the boards. And then really, probably the biggest, I did go back and forth with a couple people prior to the meeting, because one individual is on, was on one board, that term was up. They didn't believe that term was up, and actually the term in their bylaws was different than what the actual term is that we've been appointing. And that actual term that we've been appointing is different than what's in the city code. And so then realistically, at some point, we should try to get all that stuff put in line. And so then when these boards meet, I'll probably see what their thoughts are on some of that stuff. You know, there's some concern about citizens are requiring that people live in town. But the last time you appointed board members, we had two didn't even live in the county. And nobody really knew that and understood it. And that's one of the things that we gotta ask better questions when that happens. There was one new person on the board tonight, but that person is somebody that lives in town. So,
Should that be something that the board chairs are more aware of then? I mean, when they're come to us with that request.
right, yeah.
That should be vetted by them.
Well, we literally had a discussion at the tourism board about being citizen of Morris, and one of the members said, well, I'm not. And it's like, nobody knew it. And so then that person's probably gonna have to go off the board, but, you know, there was one person that thought they had more time on the board, but they're on another board, but that, the term was up, you know, cause that board was a 2-year term, you know, and then you can choose if you wanna be on one or the other when your term's up, but, you know, that's,
But when the term is different.
when the
then
term
what
is
are you
different than,
determining? Yeah.
the
I mean,
term-
that was the idea, that when their term, not to do anything until their term's
Right.
up, but
Correct.
if we have 2 different dates for a term
right.
date, I don't know. Yeah,
So we
silly.
use the dates that we've been using. So for instance, like on the tree board, it's 2 years. It's not 4 years like in their bylaws. And actually the tree board in the city code is annual. And that probably is not what you want as a city council, to have an annual
No.
term. You know, so there's gonna be a suggestion coming up that we standardize these terms. 3 years seems to be a pretty good term for boards. But then the only caveat is the library board has state statute things that we have to follow with regards to the library board, because it's a little bit different than the other boards and commissions that we have. But we'll work on that and you know, that's just a matter of putting together ordinance to adjust those boards and commissions. And then, you know, we'll have that discussion in February as far as, you know, the wishes of the city council when it comes, because, you know, I don't think the council decided to do term limits. There is one board that has a term limit written in it, and that probably should be taken out, but we can talk about that.
I just don't want this to get, because this was a discussion before you left, the first, trying to get the boards and all of them in sync with each other, and then you left, and then it kind of got dropped again for a while, like when we started it,
Right.
and then it's kind of you know, so it's like, I would like this to continue to, so that we can get it straight, so we're not in
Right.
another
Oh,
year
no.
looking at
So-
it going on.
So my idea was, in February, we'll look at that, and
Okay.
but I really wanted to kind of get to each one of the boards and just find out what their thoughts are on it. You know, and there's some disagreement with requiring people to live in the city. You know, at the same time, I don't know if you realize it, but if you look at city code, the very first paragraph, subdivision in city code, gives you the authority to appoint somebody outside the city if it's in the best interest of the board. But it depends, it really depends on the boards. You know, there's certain boards that the library services an area outside the city. The park board services an area outside the city. The tree board services pretty much the city, you know, and the tourism board is a whole different thing because that is somewhat grounded in state rules that we have to follow, you know, but yeah, I think that needs to get straightened out so that everybody knows and understands. And why bylaws were suggested, I have no idea. For boards, they should have standing, like the Charter Commission did, standing rules. You know, and actually a question was raised about what's a standing rule. And bylaws are a much stricter form of setting into place what the rules are versus standing rules, because you can do your standing rules with the motion. And bylaws are a little bit different, but boards don't need bylaws necessarily. They just need to have a policy in place so that people know how the board's going to operate. And that's really, I think, what the goal was. And so we can do that and get that all put into place before we get too far down the road. February is going to be a better month to do it because there's so much stuff going on in January. I didn't think this meeting was going to be as much stuff as it was, but everything came up.
But we should make room for members of our community to serve on boards before we have people from outside of our community to serve on a board. And even though somebody that does not live in our city limits that wants to be on the board, they can still participate in the meetings. They just
They're open
making,
meetings.
yeah, they're
They're
open
just not
meetings. They can
voting.
come and
Yeah.
participate. It's
Yeah.
just not to be, and I relayed that information to one of the people on one of the boards that you can still come participate. Your input is valuable, but we should make room for citizens of our community to serve on our boards in our community before we do somebody that does not live in our community.
Well, we've been fortunate, we've had, you know, not a lot of vacancies, you know, we get quite a few people volunteering and coming forward, but one thing I guess I would like to add to that is we've only had, I think, one instance where we had multiple applicants for one position or more interest in like 2 or 3 people, so maybe we want to make sure that we address that issue if that ever happens again. Maybe those 2 or 3 people come in and basically apply or tell us, approach the council and explain why they want to be on.
Well,
that
and then
particular
there,
board.
you know, one other thing that, because I literally was going to try to put this on the agenda for you, and the more I looked at it, the less I wanted to do that because there's too many like odd things to look at. But there's one other thing that came to mind for me too, and I'll just call it the dog in the fight person. So if you want to get on a board because you're a vendor and you want to try to sell something to the city, that's not the right way to do it. Or you know a lot about that topic, well, because you're in the, because that just recently happened within the last 2 weeks. Somebody said, I'd like to get on the board. And I said, well, right now we're trying to figure out what we're going to do. But that person didn't live in the county, but actually was in the business of providing a service that board might have been looking for. And it's like, well, that's the reason you're there is not the reason we want you there. You know, so that's important to understand too. And I actually had a really good discussion with somebody about the library board, because you really want people that use the library, because they're going to give you some really good insight into the things. Same way with the park board, same way with the tree board. You know, you got to find people. The other thing I would just say really quick too is that, you know, one of the people that had to go off the tree board because they're on another board and their term came up. It's like, well, this is a very valuable person to the tree board. doesn't mean you can't come to the tree board. You don't have to be, these boards, they don't really take a lot of votes that have, it's a recommendation that's coming to the city council. Jay Fair is a good example. He doesn't live in Morris. He's still part of the tree board. He goes to the meetings when he's here and helps provide input. So, and there's volunteers that do a lot of that kind of stuff. So there's a little bit of everything that can be part of it, but we will definitely put something together for you to standardize stuff. Any other questions on my stuff?
No questions on this. Any other items on the city manager's report? We can just move on to other business, and I guess I just have one real quick thing. Because it's the first of the year, I'll just have you take one. These are our goals, and once again, I just wanted to put these in front of the members of the city council. This last time, I think we did had a discussion on goals, was back in January 31st of 2023. So I just thought it'd be worth mentioning that maybe it's a good time for all of us to reevaluate what our goals were and kind of where we're going, and keeping in mind that some of us have probably about 1 year left of their term. So I know the wheels of government sometimes doesn't move real fast, so you have to put goals in front of you that you can accomplish in the time that you have. So, and I can share just one personal goal that I have with the council. I know it may not be, it's just something that I've been kicking around for years since I've been on the council, and I just feel it kind of came to head. I recently attended a personal friend of mine's funeral, happened to be a veteran, and I just felt that, you know, one thing the community could use is a Veterans Memorial Park. And the reason why I'm bringing it up in an open meeting is I just wanted to just do a shout out, if you will, for people in the community that maybe think like I do, maybe you want to get involved, think that there might be something there, maybe we could pursue it as a community, but I just think it would be a really nice thing to memorialize our veterans, and that's just one of the items on my bucket list, so might have to hang around till I can see that through. So if you want to get rid of me, let's just get that park built, right? That was supposed to be a joke. Lighthearted, if you will. Okay, we have any other business to come before the council? Hearing none. Any informational items?
I just want to pass on one thing that hasn't, I don't think it's come out yet. The Carnegie Library System, or the Carnegie Foundation, has given all Carnegie libraries a $10,000, and I know $10,000. So the Morris Public Library will be getting a $10,000 check. So I don't know if that's come out anywhere yet. I know I read it, I think, Polk County, Glenwood, somewhere in there, they've already, yeah, it was, because it was the Glenwood paper that talked about it. But, so I had mentioned that they want to get a write-up in the paper about that, because it's kind of a big deal. It's just a check for $10,000 to be given to the library. So.
Anything specific to be spent on, pretty much at the discretion of the receiver to spend it?
Yep,
Okay.
there are no ties attached, other than that you were at one time a Carnegie library. Started as a Carnegie library, so yeah. It's a nice chunk of change.
Very good.
Nice, nice. Any other items to come before the council? If not, meeting adjourned, and I will turn the gavel over to Mayor Pro Tem.
I will call our EDA meeting to order. I would like to start with a roll call, please.
Commissioner Wallers,
Yes.
Solby, Gullickson,
Yes.
Corrals,
Yes.
President Mill.
Yes. Agenda would be reading and approval of minutes from our meeting on August 12th of 2025. Dealt with rezoning our old elementary property, just spinning off that area that's being developed into a separate TIF district.
That was a
That was in August.
6 months or whatever it
6
was.
months.
Yeah.
I should put my glasses on.
A motion and a second to approve that information.
I will move approval of the August 12th, 2025 EDA meeting minutes.
We have a motion, we need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Passes. Election of officers. President, Vice President. Miller currently President. I believe Saldy is currently Vice President. Any interest in anyone else to take over? If not, I will gladly continue on, and I'm sure Mr. Saldy would love to have his name in the shining lights. If somebody else is interested, feel more than free to speak up at the moment. Otherwise, I would be honored to continue on.
I will move approval of the appointing President Miller and Vice President Salvi to the EDA.
I will take that as a motion. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, myself and Mr. Salvi. Ordinances, resolutions, I don't believe we have anything to deal with. It's really changed from normal running my EDA meetings, but I believe that's gonna adjourn unless anyone has any other business for our EDA to deal with at present. Hearing nothing, I adjourn the meeting.